Camp Ashridge should have been a grave. Instead, 19 soldiers walked out alive, and history still asks how one medic bent the odds. When Commander Marcus Hale reached the smoking perimeter just after dawn, he expected silence. Hours earlier, radar feeds had gone black at 0311 cutoff in mid-pulse. Satellite images showed nothing but fire and collapsing roofs. The briefing he carried in his chest pocket had labeled Ashridge a total loss, and yet, through the haze of smoke and scorched steel, his forward element spotted movement, a ragged line of survivors clustered near a collapsed convoy yard. At the center helmet, gray with soot. Gloves blood-red from work, stood Lieutenant Elena Serrano Valez, still barking orders like the night hadn't ended. "They're alive," she rasped, her voice raw from smoke. "But not for long if we waste time." Hale knew in that instant this wasn't going to be an extraction. It was going to be a fight to keep a miracle breathing. "Soldier, report in where are you watching from, drop your location in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Stories That Salute to stand with us." Hours earlier, Camp Ashridge had been intact, a forward support outpost carved against the Stormvale ridges, equipped with radar, artillery, and barracks hardened by reinforced concrete. At 0311, the first drone wave came low, fast, swarming in formations that radar barely registered. The initial strike shredded the radar array. The second wave slammed into the command hub. By 0314, leadership was gone. By 0317, the barracks were burning, metal screaming as beams collapsed. Inside the medical unit, FSO 19, Lieutenant Valez hit the floor as glass and steel rained around her. The PA crackled with one last command: all personnel, battle stations. Then silence. The wounded poured in almost immediately, shock-gray faces, uniforms torn by shrapnel, blood slicking the tiles. Valez went cold and steady, triage instincts firing without hesitation, chest seals slapped into place, arteries pinched with whatever tools were at hand, gauze packed down by the fistful, a corporal missing half his jaw, a private with both legs mangled. 19 bodies in total, the last strength Ashridge had. Corporal Jonah Mercer, arm streaked crimson, stumbled through the doorway. "Ma'am, command's gone. Fire control's gone. We're it." Valez's answer was ice. "Then we move underground. The armor hangar's reinforced. We make our stand there." The building groaned around them. Ammunition cooked off in the convoy yard, concussions rattling the floor like earthquakes. Valez gripped a stretcher under Sergeant Luis Herrera, lifted with her legs, and shouted words that would define the night. "We don't wait for perfect. We move for alive." The stairwell yawned like a throat before them, smoke clawing upward through steel rails. The emergency lights stuttered once, twice then went out, and in the sudden dark came the rising whine of another drone wave. The roof was falling, the fire was rising, and 19 lives clung to one medic's command. Private Aaron Blake shouted over the thunder, east wings collapsing. His helmet was split, his face streaked black from soot. Sparks rained as another girder tore free. "Then we move faster," Valez snapped. "How many still upstairs? 6 walking wounded, 3 stretchers." Every second was a gamble move, slow and suffocate. "Move fast and drop someone in the dark." Valez's chest hammered, but her voice was iron. "Nobody gets left. You hear me, nobody." The stairwell spat them into the tunnel grid, raw concrete meant for armored vehicles, not human cargo. The air was damp, thick with smoke drawn through vents. Valez planted herself at the archway. "Walking wounded, you lift stretchers. Anyone who can hold a weapon, rear guard. We move now." Even Specialist Ren Takeda, concussed and pale, croaked, "Yes, ma'am," as he dragged the busted radio across the floor, still whispering into static for a signal. Doubt hissed in the dark. Blake. clutching his bleeding arm, muttered, "Ma'am, enemy armor's probably rolling in by now. Shouldn't we stand and fight Valez's stare cut through him? You want to fight, you live first. Dead men don't fire rifles." And so they moved. 45 minutes of agony through tunnels choked with dust and sweat. Stretcher teams twisting sideways, IV bags swaying, boots slipping in grime. Valez rotated between them, all checking pulses, adjusting seals, whispering strength into fading eyes, not coddling, commanding, above. Detonations rippled like thunder, shaking grit loose onto their helmets. Somewhere on the surface, Ashridge was burning to its bones. Finally, the tunnel delivered them into the vast hollow of the armor hangar, a cavern of reinforced concrete, designed to shield tanks from airstrikes. Silent, stable, safe if only for a moment. Lieutenant Valez lowered the last stretcher, sweat carving channels through soot on her face. The quiet felt like betrayal. Then it shifted. A low, insectile hum seeped through the ceiling. Drones, circling, hunting. The bunker had become a hospital, but above them, the war was far from done. The subterranean hangar swallowed them, whole concrete thick enough to muffle artillery, air heavy with damp and smoke. To Lieutenant Elena Valez, it felt like a lung about to collapse. "Inventory," she ordered, already sealing Sergeant Herrera's chest wound. Private Pierce Dalton rifled through the med packs. 2 trauma kits, 3 IV bags, a sliver of morphine, and a toolbox. "Then that's our hospital." She cleared a workbench and flattened Herrera onto it. Clamp, none available. She grabbed a pair of vice grips, scorched them clean over a burning pad, and slid them into the wound with brutal precision. Herrera arched once, then sagged, pulse steadying around her. The hangar contorted into an ugly field ward coolant tubing for IV lines, steel brackets bracing broken limbs, torn uniforms for bandages. It wasn't medicine, it was improvisation, and it was enough to keep them breathing. A low rumble crawled through the floor. Tracks. Enemy armor sweeping the compound. Before panic spread. Takeda's ruined radio sputtered to life static. Then a clipped voice. "Ashridge traffic. This is Hale Actual. Friendly rescue force perimeter in 50. Non-permissive air. Drones active. Sitrep requested." Takeda's hands shook as he passed the handset. "Ma'am, it's Commander Hale." Valez snatched it. "Ashridge Medical. 19 wounded. Multiple criticals. Bunker secure for now." Hale's voice came back hard. "Controlled copy 1-9. Hold signatures low, no flare, no noise. ISR shows armor sweep near your grid. We're coming." Above them, a recon drone buzzed like a hornet in a jar, rattling dust from the ceiling. "Positions," Valez ordered. Walking wounded cover the stairwell, stretcher cases deep in the shadows, from a rubble lip above the convoy yard. Hale himself scanned through smoke and IR feed. "Valkyrie 2, keep your birds at altitude. I've got 19 friendlies underground. Do not spook the armor onto them." Back in the hangar, Sergeant Herrera rasped. "Doc, You're not dying on my watch," Valez said, tightening the seal. "Breathe with me. In, out." Her hands were split, her uniform shredded, but her cadence never broke. Then came Mercer's whisper from the stairwell. "Ma'am voices. Foreign. Closing." Takeda pressed the radio to his lips. "Hale, enemy foot mobiles approaching the bunker." Hale's reply was instant steel. "Do not engage unless fired upon. Valez, heads down. If they make contact, comply. Stall. Stay breathing. We're inside 4-5. The stairwell bloomed with flashlights. Boots hammered metal treads. The blast door screamed under a cutting torch. Then light. Rifles leveled. "American doctor," a voice demanded in broken English. "I'm Lieutenant Elena Valez, Army Medical Corps," she answered. "Steady, these are my patients." In her ear, Hale's voice was a lifeline. "Copy me." "Valez, keep them calm. You're not alone. The leader jabbed a barrel toward Herrera. You come. Soldiers stay. Valez exhaled. Slow. Copy. Hale. She murmured. Then to the gunman I go, but I stabilize first. 2 minutes. A nod. 2 minutes granted. 2 minutes stolen. She pressed morphine where it mattered, taped what would hold, and met Dalton's eyes. You run my playbook until I'm back. Then rifles took her into the firelit bones of Camp Ashridge, hands bound. But spirit unbroken. Hands bound, rifles leveled, and medicine turned into the only weapon left. They marched Lieutenant Elena Valez through glass, wire, and ash into a gutted warehouse repurposed as an enemy aid station. Fires licked steel beams. The air tasted of iron and smoke. Wounded lay scattered on tarps, sucking chests, arterial bleeds, burns that peeled flesh from bone. A major in a smoke-stained coat stepped from the shadows, Major Victor Drajan. His English was clipped. Precise. Lieutenant Valez, you will treat our wounded. I will treat wounded under Geneva, she replied. Chin high. But my soldiers need me. If you want proof I can save lives, uncuff one hand. Keep the other chained to the bed rail, and keep your rifles where I can see them. Drajan weighed the risk, then nodded once. A guard snapped the cuff from her right wrist. The left stayed locked to cold steel. 2 rifles tracked her every move. A medic laid out tools on a tray, counted in. Counted out. Clock. Valez demanded. 40 minutes. Drajan answered. Then you return to your bunker. After. We negotiate. She bent to work. Airway first. She sealed a sucking chest with their only occlusive dressing, improvised suction with a bulb syringe, clamped a bleeder with trembling vice grips. Each word was clipped. Commanding pressure. Elevate. Breathe. The guard's muzzle never dipped. Twice he yanked her back when she leaned too far. Do not test, he warned. Minutes bled away. The cuff bit her wrist raw. Her pulse hammered in her ears, but every intervention bought minutes for men who would happily have killed hers. Medicine wasn't mercy. It was leverage. Her earbud crackled. Static. Then Specialist Ren Takeda's whisper on Commander Hale's net lieutenant. We have you. Hale is in contact with enemy command. Interim exchange on the table. Drajan caught her glance. You speak to them. I keep people alive, Valez said evenly. That includes yours if you let me go back now. At 35 minutes, a runner burst in, shoving a handset into Drajan's hand. Rapid words in his language. His jaw tightened. His eyes flicked to Valez. Begrudgingly. He tapped the cuff. 5 more minutes. Then you return. With escort. She spent every second where it mattered most, packing, sealing, securing, when the cuff finally snapped free. 2 rifles closed in again. They walked her back across the skeleton of Camp Ashridge, above. Rotors beat louder, closer. The firefight had shifted. Hale's voice hummed in her ear. Interim arrangement stands. You'll re-enter your bunker under guard while we finalize the swap. Keep your people alive, we're 30 out. The blast door groaned open. Heat and darkness spilled over her. 19 faces paler than before. But Alive waited. Report, she said, dropping to her knees beside Sergeant Herrera. Private Dalton stepped forward, smoke streaked, eyes wired. We followed your playbook rotated compressions, kept IVs flowing, swapped tourniquets every 10, warmed fluids with engine blankets. It held. Takeda still unconscious, Corporal Mercer said. But we rigged a bag and kept him above the line. Valez's hands flew checking seals, swapping IVs, retaping what time had peeled away. She spoke without looking up. Copy. Hale. We're stable enough to move with assistance. Understood, came the reply. Negotiations in final. Prepare for lift. The enemy escort lingered at the door, rifles like cold stars. Dražen's voice echoed over his net, trading clipped terms with Hale in a grim duet of necessity. Valez worked in that thin seam between consent and threat, threading 19 lives through the eye of a needle. Valez. Hale's voice returned at last, the words steady as a hand on her shoulder. Green in 15. Hold tight. She pressed a final dressing into place, blood smearing her sleeve. We've got you, she murmured to Herrera, to Mercer, to Blake, to all of them at once. 15 more. Live that long. And we go home. Above. Drones circled, outside, armor idled, at the door. Rifles gleamed, and in the bunker. A medic refused to break. They thought the bunker had gone silent. They thought the 19 were just names waiting to be crossed off. They were wrong. The first sign came as a crackle in Takeda's broken radio. Static at first, then a single word. Clear. Impossible standby. Valez's head snapped up. Her throat went dry. Hale had found them. Rescue was moving. But rescue meant nothing if the enemy decided to wipe the slate first, and the clank of treads outside told her they were about to. Armor's repositioning, Mercer whispered. Ghost white. If they fire one round into this hangar, they won't. Valez cut him off, though her gut twisted. She rose, dirt and blood caking her uniform, and strode to the blast door where enemy guards lingered. You fire on this bunker. You kill your own wounded, too. The officer's jaw flexed. He knew she was right. He also knew she was gambling. Inside. The wounded stirred. Herrera coughed blood and whispered, Ma'am, just leave me. Save the others. Valez gripped his hand hard enough to make him wince. Nobody gets left. Not tonight. Then came the sound that split every thought rotors. Heavy. Chopping. Low. Not enemy hind rotors, this was deeper, heavier, American, Chinooks, 2 of them. The officer's radio exploded with panic. Valez caught fragments insertions, Rangers inbound. For 3 hours, she had bartered life against death. Now death was calling in a debt. Floodlights flared outside the bunker mouth as gunfire erupted across the compound. Muffled shouts, enemy officers barking drowned beneath the crack of M4 fire. Mercer grinned through grime. They're here. But Valez didn't smile. Then move. Now. The next 10 minutes blurred into survival. Rangers stormed through the hatch, black silhouettes under NVGs, cutting down guards with surgical precision. One shouted into comms package located 19 wounded plus 1 medic. Evac immediate. Valez was already moving, snapping orders, dragging stretchers toward waiting hands. Herrera lifted onto a litter. Takeda strapped and carried. Blake propped between 2 Rangers, still burning with fever but deliriously grinning. Above ground, the night was a furnace of tracers. The compound once called Ashridge was now a battlefield of its own. Artillery rumbled, drones circled, but overhead, American gunships roared a new rhythm. You might live, you might live, you might live, at the landing zone. Chinooks churned smoke into hurricanes. Valez loaded her last patient, hands raw, body shaking, but refusing to collapse until every one of them was on board. Out of the haze strode Commander Marcus Hale, helmet off, eyes blazing. Lieutenant, are you out of your damn mind? Valez met his stare, chest heaving. Uniform in tatters. Sir, you asked for survivors. I gave you 19. Hale's mouth opened then shut. He just nodded. The ramp clanged shut. The Chinook lifted, air vibrating through every bone. Valez sagged against the fuselage wall, finally letting her body go heavy. Around her, 19 broken men still breathed, Against every law of probability, they were alive. Herrera stirred, rasping through blood. "Doc, did we win?" Valez looked at him. At all of them. Then out at the burning skeleton of Ashridge vanishing beneath rotor wash. Her voice cracked, but held steady. "We're still here. That's the only victory that counts tonight. The Chinook banked east, carrying them into the dark, and the legend of Camp Ashridge was born not of tanks or artillery, but of one medic who refused to surrender the dying."